King Tut might just be the richest person to ever live. It's very difficult to determine exactly how rich he was because he lived so long ago, but it's safe to assume that he'd be worth trillions if he were alive today. King Tut had all the resources and wealth of ancient Egypt at his disposal. Basically, every ounce of gold and every precious jewel belonged to him because of his divinity and power. All the natural resources of the country belonged to him, and his power was unprecedented. Ancient Egyptians considered King Tut to be a god on earth, small g, and they were willing to give him everything they had. Tutankhamun ruled as pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of Egypt for a very short time. He took the throne when he was about 8 or 9 years old, but his untimely death cut his reign short. He ruled from 1334 BC to 1325 BC, and during his short tenure as the leader of Egypt, he made sweeping reforms. Most notably, he reversed the tumultuous religious reforms of his father, Pharaoh Akhenaten. Historians aren't exactly sure how King Tut died, but there are plenty of theories, some stranger than others. Some researchers believe he died from a fall and subsequent malarial infection. Other historians believe that King Tut was killed by an angry hippo. After studying King Tut's mummy, Egyptology professor Dr. Benson Herrera hypothesized that the pharaoh was killed after being bitten by a hippo. Ouch. Dr. Herrera reached the conclusion after discovering that King Tut had severed ribs and was embalmed without his heart or anterior chest wall, which was a departure from the strictly codified mummification process of the era. Even in death, ancient Egyptians considered King Tut to be wealthy and powerful. Weird. They considered his material afterlife to be just as real and a more important type of wealth than his material wealth in life. This is why pharaohs were buried with their valuable possessions and favorite items. King Tut's tomb is located in the Valley of Kings near Luxor, Egypt. Surprisingly, it's actually quite small in comparison to the tombs of other pharaohs. Because King Tut died unexpectedly, there wasn't a tomb ready for his burial. Instead, Tutankhamun was buried in a smaller tomb that was originally designed for a nobleman instead of a pharaoh. Despite the tomb's relatively small size, it was filled with thousands of valuable and sentimental items. King Tut's tomb has 4 main rooms: the antechamber, burial chamber, annex, and treasury room. Each room was filled with different types of items. The antechamber was filled with 3 ornate funerary beds, including an intricately designed bed featuring lion carvings representing the lioness goddess Isis Met. Ancient Egyptians believed these funerary beds would be used by King Tut during his resurrection. The antechamber also housed King Tut's chariots. These chariots were the Formula One race cars of their day and boasted elegant designs. Some were used for ceremonial purposes, while others were used for hunting. The burial chamber housed King Tut's mummy and a plethora of expensive treasures. The pharaoh was buried inside 3 nested coffins, the final of which was made from solid gold. The sarcophagus is one of the most valuable items that was found inside King Tut's tomb and believed to be worth at least $1.7 million. The expensive sarcophagus preserved King Tut's body for more than 3,000 years, and it has since been restored so it can be displayed at various museums around the world. You might have to have a bucket ready for this next part. If you throw up, don't blame us, we warned you. The treasury room might be the weirdest part of King Tut's tomb. This room contained the king's canopic chest, which contained his vital organs. Yes, the ancient Egyptians had some very strange funeral practices. The room also contained model boats and gilded statues. The final room of King Tut's tomb is the annex. The items found in this room are pretty weird. The annex room housed board games to keep the boy king occupied in the afterlife. One of the board games found in the tomb was Senet, which was believed to be King Tut's favorite game. Senet was a popular game in ancient Egypt across all levels of society. Both royals and peasants enjoyed playing the game. It was traditionally played by 2 people, but scenes on the wall of Nefertari's tomb show her playing against an invisible adversary in order to move on into the afterlife. King Tut's annex also housed valuable oils and even a mummified duck. A total of 48 meat mummies were found in the tomb, including beef and goat. I guess a mummy's gotta eat, right? Yum. King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922 by British archaeologist Howard Carter and his colleague Lord Carnarvon after 5 grueling years of searching. Other archaeologists and historians thought Carter was crazy. They believed that all the tombs in the Valley of Kings had already been discovered and that Carter's search for King Tut's tomb was a futile task. Carter was convinced he was right, and he was vindicated when he made the historic discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. It took years for Carter to find and catalog all of the valuable possessions found in King Tut's tomb. It's hard to calculate the total value of all of King Tut's treasures, but the entire collection was recently insured for $26 million. Many of the items discovered in the king's tomb were made of solid gold. Archaeologists discovered an impressive piece of chest jewelry called a pectoral. It was designed to look like the falcon god Horus, who was thought to be the creator and protector of the Pharaohs. King Tut's tomb also contained gold jewelry featuring blue scarab beetles made of lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone prized for its intense blue color. King Tut's mummy was also covered in gold. Archaeologists discovered the king wearing solid gold funerary sandals and protective items called stalls on his toes. Golden stalls were placed on the fingers and toes of pharaohs so that they would keep their shape. Ancient Egyptians believed the body was needed in the afterlife, and a great deal of care was taken to preserve it after death. Archaeologists also found a golden crook and flail inside the tomb. The crook and flail were important symbols of royal power in ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun's crook and flail featured crossed golden hands and silver segments. There were even weapons found in the tomb, and not just daggers, swords, and shields. Archaeologists also found boomerangs. Ancient Egyptians were using boomerangs long before the Aussies. Do you believe in curses? After King Tut's tomb was discovered, there was speculation that it was cursed. Just 1 year after Tutankhamun's tomb was found, Lord Carnarvon died from a mosquito bite. It was nothing more than a coincidence, we think, but that didn't stop the rumors from spreading. From that point on, people were convinced there was a curse. Many newspapers reported stories of a curse inscribed on the door of the tomb. There were even reports that Howard Carter's pet canary was eaten by a cobra on the day he first entered the tomb. There were also rumors that 13 of the 20 people who were present at the opening of the burial chamber died within a few years. Every single one of these rumors turned out to be false.